In Russia, civilians are allowed to drive tanks, have cats guarding world-famous art, and once classified beer as food. Add in lace underwear bans, vodka as wages, and ice baths in sub-zero temperatures, and one man fathered 87 children. Ready to be surprised? Let's dive into the strange and unique side of Russia. Russia has long had a unique relationship with alcohol. While it's a joke that Russians are made of 70% alcohol instead of water, the numbers once came dangerously close. Until 2011, beer in Russia wasn't even considered alcohol. It was legally classified as a food product. That changed under President Dmitry Medvedev, as the government began efforts to curb nationwide alcohol abuse. In the early 2000s, Russians consumed an average of 18 liters of pure alcohol per person each year. That's over 50 cans of beer per person. The results were deadly. Around 50,000 people pass away annually from alcohol-related causes. 1 in 4 Russian men died before reaching 55. For comparison, in the US, it's about 10%. In the UK, just 7%. The average life expectancy for Russian men was around 64 years. Vodka, the national drink, is present at nearly every occasion, happy or sad. In the economic chaos of the 1990s, some schools and institutions even paid workers in vodka due to inflation and shortages. Thankfully, things have improved. By 2018, average alcohol consumption dropped to 10.3 liters per year, thanks to tighter laws and public health campaigns. Still, the country's complex history with alcohol remains one of its most surprising traits. But if you think Russia's relationship with alcohol is unusual, wait until you hear about the man who fathered more children than some villages have people. Russia is known for its vastness in both geography and occasionally family size. One of the most astonishing records in history comes from a Russian peasant named Fyodor Vasilyev, who lived in the 18th century in the town of Shuya, in the Ivanovo region. According to historical records sent to the Moscow government, Fyodor's first wife, whose name was never officially recorded, gave birth to a staggering 69 children. This included 16 pairs of twins, 7 sets of triplets, and 4 sets of quadruplets, all over a span of about 40 years. Even more surprising, after her passing, Fyodor had 18 more children with his second wife, bringing his total number of offspring to 87. Many of the children reportedly survived infancy, which was rare at the time. If even a fraction of those children had their own families, a reunion wouldn't just fill a house, it could fill an entire village square. It's a story so extraordinary, it still baffles researchers today. And it's yet another way Russia continues to leave the world amazed. Speaking of surprises, did you know some of Russia's most loyal workers are covered in fur and have 4 legs? In Russia, even cats hold jobs that leave the rest of the world in awe. Far beyond being pampered pets, cats in Russia have earned a reputation as respected workers, even aboard ships. For centuries, cats were essential on naval vessels, especially for controlling rats. Russian sailors believed these cats brought good fortune and could even sense bad weather approaching. To this day, some Navy crews still keep cats on board as part of maritime tradition. But the most famous feline workforce in Russia lives on land, at the Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg. This world-class museum, located inside the historic Winter Palace, is home to around 70 cats. Their job? To protect over 3 million artworks from rodents. This tradition began with Peter the Great, who brought a large cat from the Netherlands to his wooden Winter Palace. His daughter, Empress Elizabeth Petrovna, saw how effective cats were at keeping mice away and officially declared them royal protectors of the palace. Since then, the Hermitage has continued this legacy. The cats are well fed, have veterinary care, and even draw global media attention, so much so that the museum staff joke about needing a press secretary just for them. Still curious about what life looks like in Russia? Let's head to a place so cold, even your breath freezes midair. Oymyakon, a remote village in Russia's Sakha Republic, is known as the coldest permanently inhabited place on Earth. Located in a valley along the Indigirka River, about 30 kilometers from Tomter, Oymyakon hit a record low of -67.7 degrees Celsius, or -89.9 degrees Fahrenheit, on February 6, 1933. The lowest confirmed temperature in the Northern Hemisphere. Surrounded by mountains, the village traps cold air, creating temperature inversions where mountaintops are warmer than the valley. Winters last from September to April, with average January temperatures often below -50 degrees. Despite this, about 500 people live here. Homes are built on stilts to prevent melting the permafrost. Cars are often left running to avoid engine freeze. Water must be hauled by hand since plumbing systems freeze in the extreme cold. Farming isn't an option, so diets rely on reindeer and horse meat for warmth and energy. Even burials require fires to thaw the frozen ground. This lifestyle has been captured by photographer Amaze Chappell, whose work shows the harsh beauty of life in one of the world's most unforgiving climates, a place where human resilience defies the cold. Now, what happens when military-grade vehicles meet everyday drivers? In Russia, that's not just a fantasy, it's a hobby. Before we continue, I have a special 10-second request for all of you listening. If you can help me in any way, just press the notification bell and hit that subscribe button. It means the world. It really supports this channel. And if you do that for me, I promise my team and I will do everything we can to make this show even better for you. Deal? In certain parts of Russia, it's not unusual to see what looks like a tank driving down the street. And no, it's not a military exercise. Russia, holding the largest tank fleet in the world with more than 12,000 units, also allows demilitarized military vehicles to be sold to civilians. Once decommissioned and cleared by authorities, these machines can be legally owned and even modified for everyday use. So if you happen to see an armored vehicle in a parking lot or cruising along a rural road, don't be alarmed. It's probably a civilian-owned vehicle, often used for off-roading, fishing, or expedition travel. One popular example is the Bardym-2, a Soviet-era amphibious reconnaissance vehicle. Today, Russian engineering firms convert these into fishing lodges on wheels, mobile offices, or rugged expedition campers. The civilian version of a Bardym-2 typically costs around 2 million rubles, or approximately $22,000. While it won't fire rockets anymore, it'll definitely turn heads. Next, let's talk about a law that might make you rethink what you pack for your trip to Russia. In Russia, and also in Belarus and Kazakhstan, mesh and lace underwear made from synthetic fabrics is officially banned from import and sale. This regulation has been in effect since July 1, 2014, following a decision driven by public health concerns. According to textile safety standards enforced in these countries, any underwear sold must meet a minimum moisture absorption rate of 6%. However, most synthetic fabrics used in lace and mesh lingerie only absorb around 3 to 3.6%, which falls short of that benchmark. The Russian medical community has long voiced concerns about synthetic undergarments, arguing that they can trap moisture, create poor ventilation, and potentially contribute to hygiene and skin issues. So why such a strict approach? Authorities say it's about protecting public health, not just policing fashion. And because the ban applies not only to manufacturers but also to foreign imports, you won't find these items legally sold in stores throughout the region. If you're planning a trip to Russia, Belarus, or Kazakhstan, it might be wise to pack cotton underwear instead. Bringing in lace or mesh lingerie could raise eyebrows at customs and possibly lead to delays or inspections at the airport. In a country where culture and regulation often take unexpected turns, Even your suitcase might need to follow the rules. What do you think? Should governments regulate what kind of underwear people wear for health reasons? Drop your opinion in the comments and tell us, is this smart or just strange? While in countries like Vietnam, temperatures between 10 to 15 degrees Celsius are enough to send people scrambling for thick sweaters and fur-lined jackets, things in Russia look quite different. When the thermometer dips below freezing, often around -5 to -10 degrees Celsius, that's when many Russians head outdoors for a swim. This practice is most famously observed on January 19th, during the Orthodox Epiphany celebration. Every year, thousands of people across Russia gather at frozen lakes and rivers to cut cross-shaped holes into the ice. Then, one by one, they lower themselves into the icy water, not for sport, but for something deeper. For many, it's a spiritual act. They believe the water, blessed by Orthodox priests, will cleanse the soul and protect their health throughout the coming year. Others join for the sheer thrill, a personal test of willpower and endurance. And yes, even tourists are welcome to join in, as long as safety guidelines are followed. Whether rooted in faith or driven by adrenaline, this tradition of cold water immersion has become one of Russia's most iconic winter rituals, and it continues to unite generations across the country in icy silence and collective breath. Now, from frozen lakes to city streets, here's why keeping your car clean in Russia isn't just a good habit, it's the law. In the Russian city of Chelyabinsk, if your vehicle is too dirty, especially if the license plate is unreadable, you can be fined approximately $22. But this isn't just about appearances. Authorities in Russia consider heavily soiled vehicles a hazard to public safety. Dirt-covered windshields or windows can reduce a driver's visibility, increasing the risk of accidents. That's why enforcement tends to be stricter in urban areas, where traffic density is high. On top of that, excessively dirty cars are also seen as contributing to urban environmental pollution. It's no surprise, then, that car wash stations in Russian cities, especially during winter and spring, are always busy. In fact, keeping a car clean has become such a routine that many people earn a steady income running mobile or fixed-location wash services. For some, it's more than a business. It's part of the culture of maintaining order on the roads. But what exactly counts as too dirty? A local Russian newspaper once ran a survey, and almost half of the respondents agreed, if you can't clearly read the license plate, then it's time for a wash. Ever heard of paying a tax just to keep your beard? In Russia, this wasn't a joke, it was royal policy. In the year 1698, Emperor Peter I, also known as Peter the Great, introduced a rather unusual policy. After returning from a diplomatic tour of Europe, he wanted to modernize Russian society to reflect Western customs. One of his targets? The traditional long beard. Peter observed that most Western European men were clean-shaven and saw beards as outdated and unrefined. As part of his sweeping reforms, he issued a beard tax, requiring men to pay a fee if they wished to keep their facial hair. The longer the beard, the higher the tax. Men who paid received a special token, a copper coin inscribed with the words, "The beard is a superfluous burden." Fast forward over 3 centuries, and although this tax is no longer enforced, the story lives on as one of Russia's most bizarre historical laws. Today, you won't find any modern agency collecting beard taxes, and facial hair is freely worn across the country. What if your country charged you for your hairstyle? Would you pay or protest? Tell us in the comments how much you would pay to keep your look. And would you ever carry a license for your beard? Don't forget to subscribe and follow the channel to discover more interesting things. While cities like Dubai are experimenting with flying taxis to beat traffic, Russia has taken a far more unconventional route, quite literally. In some of Russia's largest cities, where roads stretch up to 10 lanes wide, traffic congestion remains a daily struggle. But for the wealthy, there's a creative workaround: hiring a private ambulance to skip the gridlock. Using the emergency lane reserved for real ambulances and law enforcement, these private vehicles are rented out to drive clients through city traffic, sirens on, lights flashing around, and no speed limits to worry about. Though this practice is illegal, it has been spotted in Moscow, St. Petersburg, and other major cities. To make matters more complicated, some people even modify their personal cars to resemble ambulances, disguising them with decals and lights to access priority lanes. In response, Russian traffic police have occasionally launched random inspection campaigns to crack down on this abuse. Back in 2019, media reports and online ads revealed that some companies were offering so-called ambulance taxi services for roughly $65. While this may seem like something straight out of a movie, it highlights just how far some will go to avoid traffic, turning emergency vehicles into a status symbol on wheels. But beyond the cities lies a different world, where ancient Arctic traditions still whisper stories of community and survival. Chukotka, a remote Arctic region facing Alaska across the Bering Strait. This icy land is home to indigenous peoples like the Chukchi and Yupik, who have survived for centuries in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Among their many unique traditions, one stands out: a form of hospitality that might seem unusual to outsiders. Historically, in some Chukchi and Yupik communities, welcoming a guest could include offering the visitor food, shelter, and at times the companionship of a family member, even a wife. This wasn't about casual intimacy. It was a gesture of trust, respect, and social bonding in extremely isolated and interdependent societies. This practice was always voluntary and built on mutual consent. It was never universal, and over time it has mostly faded. However, early ethnographers who visited the region during the 19th and early 20th centuries documented it in their fieldwork. In these Arctic cultures, women play central and respected roles as providers, decision-makers, and community leaders. Traditional values emphasize cooperation over competition, and private life was seen as a personal matter, not for public judgment. Today, while most of these customs have evolved or disappeared, they offer a powerful look into how cultures adapt to extreme conditions. And once again, Russia surprises the world with the diversity of life at its vast and frozen edges. Finally, we descend underground, where Russia's metro stations don't just move people, they mesmerize them. While most subway systems around the world focus purely on function, Moscow's metro was designed to impress. Conceived in the 1930s under the direction of Joseph Stalin, it was built not just as public transport but as a palace for the people, showcasing the power and progress of the Soviet state. Today, this vision still shines through. Stations are decorated with marble columns, ornate chandeliers, hand-laid mosaics, and detailed sculptures, turning the daily commute into something closer to walking through a museum. Each station carries its own story. At Komsomolskaya, you'll find Baroque-style ceilings and mosaics celebrating Russian military victories. Meanwhile, Plashad Revolutsiy is lined with bronze sculptures honoring Soviet workers, from farmers and engineers to athletes and soldiers. These weren't just for beauty, they reinforced Soviet ideology in everyday life. But the system's brilliance wasn't only artistic. Many stations were built deep below ground, designed to function as bomb shelters in times of war, a strategic layer of protection woven into the city's fabric. Fast forward to 2025, and the Moscow Metro now includes over 300 stations, making it one of the largest and most efficient metro systems in the world. Tourists, historians, and architects alike continue to flock to its stations, not just to get from point A to point B, but to experience a journey through Russian history and design. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot to us. Click on the video that appears on your screen right now. I hope you'll love this content. Comment below about the next topic you'd like to see featured on our channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. In today's video, we will reveal 20 of the strangest items ever seized at airport security. Some were illegal, others were simply unexplainable. Let's start. Customs officers at Lax recently made a bizarre bust, live beetles hidden in Japanese snack packages. A traveler attempted to bring in 37 exotic beetles, not just tossed in a bag, but stuffed inside food packaging. These weren't harmless bugs either. Some were aggressive, some were considered pests, and others were banned in the U.S. Customs quickly flagged the attempt, recognizing the serious risk. Smuggling such insects can damage crops, spread disease, and harm the environment. The snacks were fake covers for a beetle smuggling attempt, and thanks to alert officers, the threat was stopped before it could cause real damage. Think that's strange? The next find might make you question what's hiding in someone's medicine cabinet. Customs agents at Detroit Metro Airport found 55 dried seahorses in a traveler's luggage. The seahorses, hidden in plastic, were likely intended for traditional medicine. While used in some cultures for health remedies, transporting seahorses is illegal. They are protected under international law, and the U.S. enforces this through a global endangered species treaty. Officers seized the seahorses and referred the case to wildlife authorities. The traveler received a warning but was not arrested. It was a strange but serious reminder of the risks involved in smuggling wildlife. Do you think the traveler knew what they were doing was illegal, or was it an innocent mistake? Comment and chat with me. Just when you thought it couldn't get more slithery, how about reptiles crawling around where you'd least expect? At Miami International Airport, TSA agents discovered 7 live snakes and 3 tortoises hidden in a man's clothing. The animals were placed in nylon stockings and believed to be part of an illegal exotic pet trade. Authorities suspect they were intended for sale on the black market. Smuggling live animals is not only harmful to the creatures involved, but also poses risks to passenger safety and the environment. The reptiles were safely recovered, and the individual faced legal consequences. Wildlife trafficking remains a serious threat to ecosystems worldwide. Snakes in pants is wild, but wait until you meet the hidden tiger that almost flew halfway across the world. At Bangkok Airport, security found a sedated 3-month-old tiger cub hidden among stuffed animals in a suitcase. A woman traveling to Iran had checked in her bag as usual. But during X-ray screening, officers noticed one toy had a skeleton. Realizing it was a live animal, they rescued the cub and took it to a wildlife center for urgent care. The cub survived, and the woman was taken into custody. Authorities believe the case is linked to the exotic pet trade, an illegal market where rare animals are sold at high prices, often as luxury symbols. Baby tigers can be worth tens of thousands. Transporting a cub this way isn't bold, it's harmful. That was dangerously bold, but the next smuggler disguised birds as beauty tools in a bizarre and illegal twist. Before exploring, I have a special 10-second request for all of you listening. If you can help me in any way, just hit the notification bell and hit that subscribe button. It helps this channel so much. And if you do that, I will do everything I can to make this show even better for you. Deal? At JFK Airport, TSA agents discovered 70 live finches hidden inside hair curlers during a luggage check. A passenger from Guyana had tried to pass them off as part of a beauty kit, but the birds were intended for underground singing competitions in New York, where people place bets on which bird sings best. Each bird was tightly packed into a plastic curler, with limited space to move or breathe. It was inhumane, illegal, and not the first case of its kind. JFK has seen similar smuggling attempts linked to a black market for songbirds. Customs officials rescued the birds and filed charges against the passenger. And speaking of live animals, what happens when 500,000 slippery creatures show up at customs? Customs agents at Heathrow discovered 600,000 live eels hidden in plastic containers inside luggage, part of an illegal seafood smuggling operation. These endangered European glass eels are highly valuable on the underground market, particularly in countries where they're farmed and sold for significant profit. Smuggling them is a serious environmental crime. Authorities acted quickly, releasing the eels back into the wild and charging the individual involved. It's a reminder of the extreme, unlawful lengths some people go to for money, often harming ecosystems in the process. From slimy to crunchy, next up is a suitcase stuffed with something you might eat, but shouldn't. Airport security at Gatwick found over 200 pounds of dried mopane caterpillars in a suitcase from a traveler arriving from Burkina Faso. These protein-rich insects are a traditional snack in parts of southern Africa, but the shipment lacked proper labels, permits, and safety checks. In the UK, all imported food must meet health regulations. Authorities believe the caterpillars were intended for resale. Due to safety violations, the goods were seized. While nutritious, all food imports must follow legal guidelines to ensure consumer safety. While those were intended for snacking, the next treat came with an illegal surprise baked right in. Customs officers at Philadelphia's airport intercepted a woman trying to smuggle illegal substances hidden inside cookies. She had arrived from Guyana carrying a box of baked goods, but something seemed off during screening. Inside the cookies? Nearly 4 pounds of concealed material, cleverly packaged to look like a regular snack. On first glance, it looked harmless, but officials quickly identified it as suspicious. Authorities acted fast. The items were seized, and the case was referred to Homeland Security. The traveler was arrested at the airport. This case highlights how inventive smuggling attempts have become, using everyday items like food to disguise illegal activity. While it might sound bizarre, these tactics are serious offenses with real consequences. Smuggling in food is one thing, but how about hundreds of venomous creatures crawling through your suitcase? At Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, authorities found 200 live tarantulas in a suitcase during a routine baggage check. A German couple arriving from South America had packed dozens of plastic containers filled with spiders, millipedes, grasshoppers, and beetles, none declared or documented. Officials believe the insects were intended for the exotic pet trade. Smuggling wildlife without proper permits is a serious offense that violates international laws, harms ecosystems, and puts animals at risk. The entire shipment was confiscated, and the couple was charged. This case highlights the dangers and consequences of illegal wildlife transport. Spiders are terrifying for many, but what if someone packed a bunch of dead bats instead? TSA agents at Atlanta's airport were caught off guard when they opened a bag and discovered something unexpected. Here's the twist: this wasn't a wildlife smuggler. The passenger claimed to be a fan of The Walking Dead and said the bats were part of a cosplay or tribute. But carrying real deceased bats? That's not fandom, it's a serious concern. TSA stepped in immediately. Transporting dead animals, especially bats, poses real health risks because they can carry dangerous diseases. The bats were confiscated on the spot, and the CDC got involved to assess the situation. Bats might be creepy, but our next catch: a giant sea creature that flew better than expected. TSA agents at Boston Logan Airport discovered a 20-pound live lobster inside a passenger's checked bag. This crustacean was traveling in style. Believe it or not, flying with lobsters is allowed, as long as they're properly packed. But a massive lobster in a checked bag? That's not something TSA sees every day. The most unexpected part? The passenger followed all the rules. The lobster was packed in a cooler with ice packs, and TSA approved it. Agents even said it was the largest lobster they'd ever encountered at an airport. It turned heads. After all, not many people say, "I'm flying with Larry the Lobster." That's some serious seafood dedication. From lobster to lizard, what happens when a traveler brings back the wrong kind of souvenir? TSA at Delhi Airport was surprised to find what appeared to be a real baby crocodile head inside a Canadian passenger's bag. During routine scanning, security noticed something unusual. When they opened the bag, there it was. Not a replica, but an actual reptile skull. What made it even more surprising? The item wasn't hidden. It was simply wrapped up, with no documents or permits. Authorities immediately flagged it, since transporting wildlife parts, especially from protected species, is illegal under international law. In India, such actions are taken seriously. Wildlife officials got involved, and the passenger was arrested under the Wildlife Protection Act. He claimed it was just a souvenir, but it's a reminder that not everything you find abroad can be brought home. If that story made you raise an eyebrow, or both, hit that like button. We've got more real-life shockers coming your way. That souvenir raised eyebrows, but next, a full-fledged fake fashion empire almost made it through customs. Customs officers at Dublin Airport shut down a major scam when they seized a huge haul of fake designer clothing. We're talking over 300 pieces imitating top brands like Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Nike, and Adidas. This wasn't just one shady item, it looked like someone was setting up a full counterfeit shop. From a distance, the items looked convincing. But up close, the details gave them away. Stitching was poor, tags looked suspicious, and some logos weren't the real deal. Authorities spotted the fakes quickly. And this isn't just a fashion issue. Selling counterfeit goods is a serious crime. It hurts legitimate brands, avoids taxes, and can even support organized criminal networks. That's why customs officers take it seriously, seizing the items and often pressing charges. Some travelers may think fake labels are harmless, but customs officials are trained to spot them. If your bag is packed with designer gear that didn't come from a store, you're likely heading straight into legal trouble. The price of counterfeit fashion? Much higher than you'd expect. And just when you thought the fashion crime was weird, imagine bringing a snake for comfort. TSA agents at Tampa International Airport were surprised when they discovered a 4-foot-long boa constrictor inside a woman's carry-on. She stated it was her emotional support animal. The snake, named Bartholomew, was coiled inside her bag, declared during screening, and not hidden. While the woman followed the procedure to declare her support animal, TSA flagged the bag for inspection. Once opened, there was Bartholomew, calm and contained. However, most airlines have strict policies about reptiles in the cabin, especially large snakes. When TSA directed her to check with the airline, they firmly declined. Although emotional support animals are recognized in certain situations, they're generally limited to traditional pets like dogs or cats. Large snakes don't typically meet airline guidelines due to safety and passenger comfort concerns. In this case, Bartholomew stayed grounded because not every animal is cleared for takeoff. Snakes in carry-ons might sound strange, but the next passenger strapped on more tech than a gadget store. A man in China was caught attempting to smuggle 66 iPhones across the Hong Kong-Shenzhen border. His method? Strapping the phones all over his body, almost like a real-life tech suit. Customs officers noticed something unusual. His stiff walk, limited arm movement, and bulky clothing raised suspicions. When they pulled him aside, they found dozens of iPhones taped around his torso, waist, legs, and even his calves. Authorities reported that the devices included both new and older models, all sealed and likely destined for unauthorized resale. Smuggling smartphones into China is a known issue due to high resale value and taxes, but this attempt stood out for its scale and unusual execution. The man was detained, and the phones were confiscated. This case is a reminder. Trying to bypass customs with concealed electronics is not only illegal, it rarely ends well. Phones are popular, sure. But imagine turning heavy metal into a golden smuggling scheme. Smugglers attempted to sneak $10 million worth of gold into China by disguising it as air compressor parts. Customs officers in Hong Kong discovered 146 kilos of gold hidden inside realistic, heavy metal components. These weren't ordinary props. They were carefully shaped and painted to look like real machinery. Inspectors became suspicious when the compressors felt unusually heavy. Inside, instead of mechanical parts, they found solid gold. The gold had been molded to resemble actual components, in an attempt to avoid taxes and transport it from Japan to mainland China undetected. There was no documentation, no identifying marks, just a concealed shipment of precious metal. Authorities described it as a highly sophisticated smuggling method. But despite the effort, it failed. The takeaway? No matter how advanced the disguise, smuggling has serious consequences. From metallic deception to reptilian mail, some smugglers tried shipping live animals in boxes. Australia stopped a smuggling attempt involving 16 live shingleback lizards sent through the mail. Authorities became suspicious when some overseas packages appeared to move. Inside, they found lizards packed tightly into small boxes, without water or ventilation. Shinglebacks are native, slow-moving reptiles with thick scales and are legally protected. Exporting them without permits is illegal. Officials suspect the animals were being trafficked to Japan, where rare reptiles can be sold for high prices. The lizards were found dehydrated and under stress, but fortunately still alive. Wildlife smuggling like this is not only illegal, but it also raises serious animal welfare concerns. In this case, customs acted quickly to stop the shipment and protect the animals. That was dangerous for the animals. But the next find? A horror movie prop turned real-life scare. Someone attempted to bring a Freddy Krueger glove with real metal blades in their carry-on. TSA at a U.S. airport quickly intervened. The glove, resembling the one from A Nightmare on Elm Street, wasn't made of plastic. It had real blades and posed a potential safety threat. Whether it was meant for cosplay or a collection, TSA prohibits sharp items like this in carry-on luggage. The glove was confiscated, and the passenger continued without it. Reminder, if your item resembles a weapon, even as a movie prop, it's not allowed in your carry-on. TSA prioritizes safety, and anything sharp stays behind. Speaking of scary, this next discovery shut down an entire airport, and it wasn't just for show. Honolulu Airport went into lockdown after TSA agents found grenade-shaped items in a passenger's checked bag. These were not replicas or props. They appeared to be real explosives. During routine screening, security flagged a suspicious item in the luggage. When the bag was opened, TSA discovered what looked like grenades. The area was immediately secured. Authorities called in the bomb squad and evacuated nearby passengers as a safety precaution. Fortunately, the grenades were later confirmed to be inert, meaning they were not active explosives. Still, even non-functional or deactivated grenades are prohibited in airports due to the obvious safety risks. Whether it's a souvenir, paperweight, or antique, anything resembling a weapon is treated seriously. The passenger was detained for questioning, and airport operations resumed after a few hours. Many travelers experienced delays. This incident serves as a reminder: bringing items that resemble explosives to an airport, even if harmless, can lead to serious legal and security consequences. And finally, our most unexpected stowaway wasn't smuggled, it snuck in on its own. Ready for a twist? TSA agents at JFK spotted movement in a checked bag and found a live ginger cat inside. The suitcase was packed and ready for a flight to Florida when the X-ray revealed the unexpected stowaway. The cat, named Smells, wasn't even the traveler's pet. It had likely crawled into the bag at home without anyone noticing. Luckily, TSA caught it before the suitcase was loaded into the cargo hold, an environment with no air, food, or proper temperature. Smells was safely returned to its family, and the passenger flew out without their surprise travel buddy. The takeaway: always check your luggage before zipping it up. Curious cats and closed suitcases don't mix. If you were a customs officer for one day, what's the one thing you'd hope not to find? Let's see who's got the wildest imagination or experience. If you found today's video interesting, don't hesitate to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Your support is very important to us. Be sure to check out the next video appearing on your screen. You're sure to love the content we bring. Please leave a comment about which country you'd like us to explore next. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Libya, with no rivers and barely any rain, built a 2,500-mile underground river tapping water from a 20,000-year-old aquifer, all without foreign loans. Once called the eighth wonder of the world, it still flows today. But with war, sabotage, and climate extremes, the question now is, how long can it last? Let's dive in. Spanning across North Africa like a scorched plain, Libya is more than 90% desert. But this isn't just any stretch of sand. It's the Sahara, the largest and hottest desert on the planet. From above, it stretches endlessly, a harsh expanse of wind-blasted rock and sun-baked sand. But for the 7 million people who call Libya home, this isn't just a landscape. It's a daily fight for survival. There isn't a single permanent river flowing through Libya. Instead, the nation depends on dry stream beds known as wadis. These channels flood briefly, only after rare and sudden storms, then vanish just as fast. According to the World Bank's most recent data, fewer than 5% of Libyan lands receive more than 4 inches of rainfall per year. The rest? Bone dry. Desolate. Because the country's interior is virtually uninhabitable, nearly 80% of Libya's population lives compressed along a thin Mediterranean coastline. Here, cities like Tripoli, Benghazi, and Sirte survive on sporadic rain, aging infrastructure, and overcrowded water trucks. But even these coastal hubs are running dangerously low on water. As of early 2025, the World Resources Institute ranked Libya 6th worldwide for baseline water stress, a category that signals severe and immediate freshwater scarcity. This isn't just a warning sign. It's a full-blown emergency. Libya's crisis runs deeper than just the climate. It's a tangled mix of geography, political instability, and decades of crumbling investment. The desert was always here. But now, intensifying heat, a growing population, and limited resources have pushed the country to the edge. And yet, here's the twist. There is water. Not a trickle, but vast reserves of it, trapped far below the burning surface. Accessing it and moving it? That's a challenge on a whole new scale. But that's exactly where this story begins. Just when Libya's struggle with drought seemed irreversible, a discovery buried deep beneath the sand rewrote the nation's future. It all began in the year 1953. Oil exploration teams were drilling in Libya's remote southern desert, far from any settlements. Their mission was clear: strike oil, power development, and push the country into a new industrial era. As heavy drills carved into ancient layers of sandstone, the machinery suddenly roared, the ground rumbled, and to the crew's shock, out surged a powerful stream of cold. Gushing from the depths of the Sahara. At first, the crew thought it was a one-off accident. But deeper surveys revealed the truth: they had tapped into a massive subterranean aquifer. What they'd struck was part of the Nubian sandstone aquifer system, today recognized as one of the largest underground reservoirs of ancient groundwater on the planet. according to the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization's Water Security Report. The Nubian aquifer covers more than 770,000 square miles, spreading beneath Libya, Egypt, Sudan, and Chad. It holds an estimated 39 quadrillion gallons of water. That's enough to fill over 1.4 billion Olympic swimming pools. Even more astonishing, this water is prehistoric. Scientists date its origins to over 20,000 years ago, back when the Sahara was a lush landscape dotted with rivers, lakes, and grasslands. Since then, the water has remained sealed below ground, untouched, beneath layers of rock and sand. For Libya, this wasn't just a scientific breakthrough, it was a national lifeline. But it came with a daunting challenge. The aquifer lies deep in the desert's core. Meanwhile, nearly all Libyans live along the faraway Mediterranean coast, hundreds of miles to the north. The question was urgent. How do you deliver this buried water to the people who need it most? That single question launched one of the most ambitious infrastructure efforts in modern history, a plan to build a vast underground river, a network of buried pipelines that could transport fossil water across the desert. But at the time, many dismissed it as a fantasy. The discovery of ancient water beneath the Sahara didn't just shift the course of geology, it ignited one of the boldest infrastructure dreams of the 20th century. That vision belonged to Muammar Gaddafi, Libya's ruler at the time. By the early 1980s, Gaddafi wasn't just governing, he was shaping what he believed would be a lasting legacy. And for him, this hidden aquifer wasn't merely a resource. It was a symbol of national destiny. He called it the Great Man-Made River, a title he claimed belonged to what he called the eighth wonder of the world. According to the General People's Committee for Water Resources, the project was designed to deliver more than 2 billion liters of fresh water each day. That water would travel from fossil aquifers buried deep beneath Libya's southern desert to the country's heavily populated northern coast, where cities were dangerously close to running out of water altogether. But this wasn't just a matter of laying pipes. Gaddafi envisioned a colossal subterranean system, an underground river stretching over 2,500 miles. Engineers were tasked with drilling wells more than 1,600 feet deep, then connecting them with massive concrete pipelines, each one wider than a freight truck. These pipes would carry water across harsh terrain, through burning sand, bedrock, and shifting desert. For Gaddafi, this project was more than engineering. It was political. He saw it as a declaration of independence from both regional water suppliers and Western influence. He refused foreign loans and insisted Libya would fund the project entirely on its own. In a defiant national address in the year 1986, broadcast to every corner of Libya, Gaddafi said, "They give us weapons, but not water. We will build our river, and the desert will bow before it." The message struck a chord. In many rural communities, hope began to grow. Still, as momentum built, so did the questions. Could a mega-project of this scale survive the desert's wrath, the political turmoil, and the financial burden? Before we continue, I have a special 10-second request for all of you listening. If you can help me in any way, just press the notification bell and hit that subscribe button. It means the world. It really supports this channel. And if you do that for me, I promise my team and I will do everything we can to make this show even better for you. Deal? What came next stands as one of the most staggering engineering undertakings of the modern era. A mega project so vast and logistically intense that global experts once dismissed it as impossible. More than 13,000 water wells, each one drilled over 1,600 feet into the desert floor, were scattered across Libya's remote south. From there, a sprawling network of buried pipelines stretched over 2,500 miles. For context, that's roughly the same distance as crossing the entire United States from coast to coast. Every pipe section was a giant 13 feet wide and heavier than a fully loaded transport truck. As reported by the Great Man-Made River Authority, more than 250,000 of these colossal pipe segments were manufactured and laid. The cement alone totaled 5 million metric tons, enough to construct the equivalent of 20 full-scale Great Pyramids of Giza. But this wasn't just a utility system. It was a river without a surface, an invisible lifeline buried beneath the sands, pumping water silently through one of the world's most extreme climates. Construction kicked off in the mid-1980s. Work crews rotated in relentless cycles, operating in isolated desert camps where temperatures routinely soared beyond 113 degrees Fahrenheit. Supplies had to be airlifted or hauled in by convoys. Living conditions were tough, but the determination is unshakable. Each stage of the project brought fresh technical challenges. Engineers had to precisely align kilometer after kilometer of reinforced concrete tubing. They constructed massive underground reservoirs, lined with asphalt to prevent evaporation, beneath layers of sun-blasted terrain. Reservoirs like Oymyakon and Algarabia were carved deep into bedrock and sealed with precision, capable of holding billions of gallons of water. Over time, these reservoirs became more than storage sites. They became monuments of resilience and symbols of hope. After years of battling searing heat and shifting sands, Libya's underground river was finally ready to expand. What began as an ambitious dream was steadily transforming into a nationwide water network, unfolding through carefully planned, large-scale phases. The first phase, launched in 1983, focused on drawing water from the Tazerbu and Sarir aquifers in the southeast. By the time the system reached Benghazi in 1991, engineers had drilled hundreds of deep wells, laid more than 250,000 reinforced concrete pipe sections, and constructed a double pipeline stretching nearly 1,000 miles. This network delivered up to 528 million gallons of water per day, providing a vital alternative to dwindling coastal aquifers and water trucks. The second phase pushed westward with a clear mission: to supply Tripoli, home to over 1 million residents. By 1996, a new pipeline boosted daily capacity by another 660 million gallons, extended service to cities like Misrata and Tarhuna, and brought hundreds of new wells online in the Jabal al-Hassana region. For the first time, Libya's east and west were connected by a single, integrated water system. According to the United Nations Economic and Social Council's Infrastructure Bulletin, this development reduced Tripoli's dependence on desalination plants by over 70%. The third phase, completed in 2009, focused on expanding reach and capacity even further. It extended the pipeline network by an additional 745 miles, increased total system output to over 972 million gallons per day, and brought clean water to underserved regions like Tobruk through the construction of a new reservoir and another 300 miles of pipeline. This stage wasn't just about expansion, it transformed access to water in remote communities that had waited for decades. Which phase do you think had the biggest impact, east, west, or expansion into the interior? Let us know in the comments. Your insights help us tell better stories. According to the Libyan Ministry of Planning's infrastructure report, the total cost of the Great Man-Made River project is estimated between $20 billion and $25 billion. That figure covers everything, from drilling and construction to reservoir development, pipe manufacturing, and long-term system maintenance. And yet, when compared to the energy-intensive and expensive desalination systems used in other water-stressed nations, Libya's underground river stands out as significantly more affordable and far more energy efficient over time. What makes it even more remarkable is this: Libya funded the entire project without borrowing a single dollar from foreign lenders. During Muammar Gaddafi's leadership, the country financed the construction entirely through domestic oil revenue. There were no international investors, no loans from the World Bank, no financial conditions imposed by the International Monetary Fund. For millions of Libyans, the true cost wasn't counted in billions. It was counted in something far more personal: freedom from thirst. The Great Man-Made River was originally built to connect a divided landscape and supply life to every corner of Libya. But after the fall of Muammar Gaddafi in the year 2011, that same system was dragged into a new kind of battle, one not against the desert, but against civil unrest and war. As Libya fractured into competing factions, the river became more than infrastructure; it became a strategic asset. In 2015, a wave of airstrikes struck the Brega pipe production plant, the country's main factory for producing the massive concrete cylinders essential to pipeline expansion. The results were devastating. Production came to a halt, and critical repairs were stalled for years. By 2019, the Libyan Infrastructure Oversight Committee documented the toll. More than 100 wells in western Libya had been dismantled or destroyed. Entire sections of the network were either damaged or shut down. And some armed groups used control over water flow as a political weapon, cutting supply to areas held by rival forces. What was once designed to carry life across the desert had now become a symbol of division. Ongoing instability brought more complications. Routine maintenance became impossible. Widespread power outages, looted control stations, and unsafe conditions for workers meant the system could no longer operate at full capacity. According to the World Health Organization's report on water and sanitation in conflict zones, Libya's Great Man-Made River is now classified as one of the most fragile water supply systems in all of North Africa. For families living in the western regions, the consequences have been immediate: interrupted access, rising health risks, and uncertainty over every drop of water that still flows. Despite years of conflict, sabotage, and neglect, the Great Man-Made River is still flowing. Against all odds, through fractured pipelines, damaged infrastructure, and political gridlock, this engineered lifeline continues to deliver water to Libya's coastal cities and scattered desert communities. The Libyan Water Resources Authority reports that the system is running at only partial capacity, supplying approximately 660 million gallons of water per day. That's roughly 1/3 of the volume it was originally built to deliver. Today, the greatest threat to the system isn't structural, it's political inertia. There is still no unified national water strategy, no central plan to manage operations, modernize equipment, or invest in long-term maintenance. Without that, the future of the world's largest underground water network remains deeply uncertain. According to the World Bank's Fragile Infrastructure Report, the Great Man-Made River is now listed as critically vulnerable. The report warns that, within the next 5 years, power shortages, poor coordination between authorities, and a lack of financial investment could lead to widespread regional shutdowns. Even the basic tools used to manage the system, flow meters, pressure gauges, and control software, are now outdated or inoperable in many locations. And yet, for most Libyans, the river is still essential. It currently connects over 70% of the population to water, even if that connection is now unreliable and inconsistent. It's no longer a symbol of triumph. It's a fragile miracle. While the Great Man-Made River continues to operate beneath the sands of the Sahara, its most pressing challenge lies not on the surface but deep underground. The water it draws is not part of any renewable cycle. It doesn't replenish with rainfall. It doesn't return season after season. This is fossil water trapped beneath layers of ancient rock for tens of thousands of years, sealed there since the last ice age. According to the Global Groundwater Assessment by the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, the Nubian Sandstone Aquifer, the primary source feeding the Great Man-Made River, has virtually no measurable recharge rate. At current extraction levels, scientists warn that usable reserves could begin to drop significantly before the end of this century. Some experts caution that the river itself may not survive beyond the year 2100. This leaves Libya facing a stark choice: continue drawing from a non-renewable source, or begin shifting toward alternatives such as large-scale desalination. But desalination is no simple solution. Although Libya benefits from some of the highest solar energy potential on Earth, thanks to the Sahara's year-round sunlight, scaling up solar-powered desalination would require enormous investment, a stable government, and long-term national planning. As of now, the country lacks all three. Should countries be allowed to rely on non-renewable groundwater? Or is it time to rethink water use altogether? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and follow the channel to discover more interesting things. After decades of depending on a shrinking reserve of ancient groundwater, Libya now stands at a critical crossroads: continue extracting fossil water from beneath the Sahara, or pivot toward a new solution powered by one thing the country has in overwhelming abundance: sunlight. Libya ranks among the sunniest countries on Earth. According to the Solar Atlas by the International Renewable Energy Agency, the nation receives more than 3,000 hours of sunlight annually, especially across its expansive Saharan landscape. This makes Libya exceptionally well-suited for solar-powered desalination. While traditional desalination, removing salt from seawater, is proven and widely used in countries like Saudi Arabia and Israel, it typically depends on fossil fuels or nuclear energy. Libya, facing energy constraints and economic challenges, cannot afford to rely on those methods at scale. However, channeling just a fraction of that solar potential could change everything. A feasibility report from the Libyan Ministry of Renewable Energy estimates that solar-powered desalination facilities along the Mediterranean coast could eventually produce up to 400 million gallons of potable water every day. That would be enough to supply major urban centers without extracting a single drop from the underground aquifer. Still, the path forward is steep. Building such infrastructure demands billions of dollars in investment, a skilled workforce, and coordinated national leadership, resources that remain scarce in a country still recovering from prolonged instability. Meanwhile, time is running out. Each year spent in political deadlock brings the nation closer to irreversible groundwater depletion. Yet there are signs of progress. In 2024, Libya launched its first pilot solar desalination facility near the city of Misrata. Backed by a public-private partnership with European technology firms, the plant produces around 5 million gallons of water per day. It's not large, but it is real, and it could mark the beginning of a new era, one powered not by fossil water but by the sun. As Libya explores solar-powered desalination, one final chapter of the Great Man-Made River is now underway, Phase 5. Approved by the Libyan Water Authority in December 2024 after years of delays. Phase 5 marks the largest and most technically complex expansion since the early 2000s. According to the 2025 National Infrastructure Bulletin, it includes over 930 miles of new pipeline, and added 660 million gallons of water per day, and 420 new wells south of Kufra and east of Sarir, targeting untapped sections of the Nubian aquifer. This phase is about more than volume, it's about equity. For decades, regions in eastern and southern Libya, including areas near Al-Jagbab and the remote northeast, were left out of earlier stages. Many communities still depend on water trucks or unreliable local sources. Phase 5 aims to bring them clean, consistent access. But the engineering challenge is steep. The Libyan Department of Geological Surveys reports that the route crosses varied terrain, from rock plateaus to soft dunes, rising from 10 to over 900 feet above sea level. This requires dozens of pump stations and precise elevation planning. Funding remains a concern. Although initial investment has been secured through state and regional partnerships, the total cost is still unconfirmed. Just as Libya moved forward with Phase 5 of the Great Man-Made River, offering long-awaited hope to underserved regions, nature delivered a devastating blow. In a country where many still struggle for drinking water, others suddenly face the opposite crisis, flooding from below. In late 2023, the coastal city of Zliten, located east of Tripoli, experienced rising groundwater levels that led to months of inland flooding. Streets turned into shallow swamps, palm groves were submerged, and homes were overtaken by stagnant, mosquito-ridden pools. According to a joint report by the Libyan Ministry of Environment and the World Health Organization, the cause was linked to unmanaged infrastructure leaks, compounded by failing sewers and poor drainage, an avoidable disaster born of neglect. Then, in September 2023, Libya faced its worst natural catastrophe in modern memory. Storm Daniel, a powerful Mediterranean cyclone, struck the eastern coast with historic force. In just a few hours, it unleashed more rain than some regions receive in an entire year. 2 aging dams above Derna collapsed under the pressure. The impact was catastrophic, more than 4,000 confirmed dead, nearly 10,000 missing, and entire neighborhoods swept into the sea. The United Nations called it one of the deadliest Mediterranean floods on record, and the World Weather Attribution Group classified it as a once-in-600-year event. And this, in one of the world's driest nations. Libya now stands at a breaking point, trapped between worsening droughts and sudden, deadly floods. With climate change accelerating, the country's challenge is no longer just about managing scarcity. It's about surviving extremes. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot to us. Click on the video that appears on your screen right now. I hope you'll love this content. Comment below about the next topic you'd like to see featured on our channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Beneath the opulent halls of the Vatican, whispers of ancient rituals, forbidden texts, and unsettling legends echo through time. What secrets lie buried in locked vaults and shadowy catacombs? You're about to uncover 20 of the creepiest secrets the Vatican has tried to keep hidden, and some are far darker than you might imagine. Let's start. The Vatican has areas reserved for high-ranking clergy, including the Pope. One of the most fascinating is the Vatican Secret Archives, named from the Latin term, which means private archives. These archives contain centuries-old documents connected to the Pope and the Church, some dating back to the Middle Ages. Rather than being a treasure trove, the archives serve as a vast historical record stretching across kilometers of shelves. Scholars who have accessed them have found valuable insights into events like the fall of Rome and the rise of Christianity. Some sections remain closed to the public, not due to hidden secrets, but because they are either inaccessible or contain documents too fragile to be studied. Even so, the archives offer a rich and important record of living history, less mysterious than one might assume. But what lies beneath the Vatican's surface might be even more chilling. When you hear Vatican necropolis, you might picture an ancient planned burial site, but this one formed over time due to Roman laws and Vatican expansion. Located 5 to 12 meters beneath St. Peter's Basilica, it was rediscovered during excavations in the 1940s. In ancient Rome, burials within the city were not allowed, so people laid their dead to rest along roads just outside the city limits. One of these roads passed near what later became Vatican Hill. Eventually, Emperor Constantine built St. Peter's Basilica over what was believed to be the tomb of Peter, covering parts of the necropolis, then protected by Roman law. Its rediscovery shows how layers of history can remain hidden, waiting to be explored. Do you believe there are still untold secrets buried beneath the Vatican waiting to be found? Comment and chat with me. And while the dead may rest in peace below, could others have used those depths to escape alive? The Vatican has a hidden escape route built for the Pope. It's not just a legend, history confirms it has been used. In 1494, the Pope used it when France invaded Italy. Again, in 1527, during the sack of Rome, the passage helped the Pope reach safety while his guards were under threat. The route stretches about 800 meters. While still accessible today, it functions more as a historical site that tourists can explore. Is there a modern version of this escape route? Likely yes, but it remains confidential. Understandably, such details are kept private to ensure the Pope's safety. This historic passage shows the lengths the Vatican takes to protect its spiritual leader. But when it comes to the battle between good and evil, what happens when the Church itself faces demonic forces? Some people believe in possession, attributing it to supernatural forces such as spirits or demons. The Catholic Church, including the Pope, has acknowledged the concept of possession and has conducted many exorcisms over time. A notable church official, who once served as a close aide to a former pope, reportedly performed numerous exorcisms. The Church views these rituals as a means of addressing spiritual distress, though they emphasize caution in their application. The Vatican has even released a 90-page guideline outlining when and how exorcisms may be considered. The document advises that medical or psychological causes should be ruled out first and stresses that any exorcism must follow expert review and be reserved for serious cases. However, there have been reported instances of misuse, especially involving vulnerable individuals. These cases raise important concerns and underscore the need for oversight. From the spiritual to the artistic, the Vatican holds more than secrets, it holds masterpieces. But why were some of these collected in the first place? Before exploring, I have a special 10-second request for all of you listening. If you can help me in any way, just hit the notification bell and hit that subscribe button. It helps this channel so much, and if you do that, I will do everything I can to make this show even better for you. The museum, which houses many important artworks in the city, began as a passion project by one of the popes who believed that the Vatican should engage more with modern culture. He felt that art was a meaningful way to achieve that connection. In a way, this approach is quite logical. Institutions like the Vatican can sometimes seem distant, and initiatives like embracing modern art can help foster a stronger bond with the broader community. Today, the collection includes around 8,000 pieces, offering a diverse view of 20th century Italian and international art. And while art beautifies the surface, the money beneath it raises darker questions. One notable fact is that Vatican City is a sovereign city-state, which means it is technically an independent country with a population of about 1,000 people. As such, it operates its economy and generates revenue through various means. But that's just part of the picture. The Vatican also invests funds globally, including in several private ventures. In addition to these investments, it receives donations from believers around the world. Given these diverse sources of income, some observers have raised questions about the level of financial transparency, especially in light of past issues involving a financial institution within the city. Finances aside, the Church has also funded something far more controversial: wars waged in the name of faith. The Crusades were considered holy wars, often endorsed by the Pope, as Catholic leaders led many of the campaigns. During the First Crusade, historical records estimate that around 70,000 people, including Muslims, lost their lives. Some soldiers were granted spiritual absolution for their participation, which has led to ongoing discussions about how forgiveness was interpreted during that era. In more recent history, the Vatican's role in global conflicts has varied. During World War I, it promoted peace efforts and sold church valuables to assist those affected. In World War II, the Vatican's position became more complex. The Pope at the time entered into diplomatic agreements with Nazi Germany and did not publicly condemn certain actions. which later led to controversy in the use of the term Hitler's Pope in some historical narratives. But not all warriors in God's name fought openly. Some vanished into legend, leaving behind mysteries still whispered today. One of the most notable groups from that period was the Knights Templar. They were a French military order deeply committed to the Catholic faith, and their original mission was to protect pilgrims traveling to Jerusalem. Over time, they were officially endorsed by the Catholic Church and received the Pope's blessing. This helped them grow into one of the wealthiest and most skilled military organizations of their time, playing a major role in several crusades. Ironically, the group was later disbanded by the French king, reportedly due to political distrust. However, legends and rumors about their continued existence persist to this day. Yet not all mysteries are about people. Some are about objects said to carry divine power. The Shroud of Turin is a religious artifact that some believe to be the burial cloth of Jesus Christ. It is said to bear the image of a man's face, which many associate with Christ. While some consider it a sacred relic, others question its authenticity due to gaps in its documented history and conflicting scientific results. The Catholic Church has not officially confirmed or rejected its authenticity, which has kept the debate alive. And if that artifact is shrouded in mystery, this next one pierces through with deadly legend. This spear is believed by some to be the one that pierced Christ's side during the crucifixion. Because of its role in that moment, many view it as a significant relic. Over time, legends have suggested that possessing the spear grants great power, even the ability to win battles. This belief has been linked to the Vatican, as one version of the lance was reportedly used by crusaders in a major victory. The Spear of Destiny has also appeared in pop culture, including films like Constantine and Hellboy. Interestingly, there are currently 4 artifacts claimed to be the original spear, with one located in Rome near the Vatican. But sometimes the most haunting things aren't artifacts, they're apparitions. When discussing a major religious site like the Vatican, it's not unusual to hear stories and legends, including those involving apparitions. One of the most well-known is the story of an apparition resembling Saint Peter, the Apostle, who served alongside Jesus Christ. According to legend, another individual named Peter once witnessed a vision of the Apostle appearing as he was at the time of his death. The account was considered so powerful that a series of painted portraits was created to commemorate the event. 11 of those paintings still exist today. Some stories even claim that the ghost of Saint Peter can occasionally be seen within the Vatican's walls. And while ghosts may haunt the halls, some staircases hide secrets in their very design. A staircase has to be unique to gain a reputation for being mysterious, and Giuseppe Momo's spiral staircase in the Vatican is often described that way. This special double helix staircase was designed for private use by various members of the Vatican, including the Pope. According to some accounts, the design allowed the Pope to ascend or descend while remaining in his carriage, offering more comfort and privacy. Today, a modern version of the staircase can be visited during select guided tours, though not by carriage. But even more elusive than hidden staircases are the pages the Church left out of the Bible. The Lost Books of the Bible and the Forgotten Books of Eden are collections of translated texts that claim to include writings excluded from the current version of the Holy Bible. These texts are often discussed as alternative or apocryphal scriptures. Given the Vatican's central role in the history of the Catholic Church, such texts may be preserved in its archives for research or historical reference. While the significance of these writings is often debated, it's reasonable to assume they hold enough value to be kept for scholarly purposes. Love unraveling mysteries the Vatican would rather keep buried? Then hit subscribe and join our circle of truth seekers. No robe required. And while some truths were edited out, others were quite literally written in the stars. Historically, science and religious institutions have not always had an easy relationship. However, the Vatican has long recognized the importance of science and has worked to support it in various ways, particularly in fields they view as connected to their faith, such as astronomy. For example, understanding the movement of celestial bodies has been important for calculating dates related to religious events. This led to the establishment of the Vatican Observatory, an astronomical facility designed to support scientific observation of the stars. Over the years, several observatories have been built, including the most recent one, which is located outside Vatican City. But just when you think you've seen it all, what if a dead man could still stand trial? The Vatican's history includes several unusual and controversial events. One of the most debated is the Cadaver Synod, also known as the Cadaver Trial. This took place in the late 9th century, when the body of a recently deceased pope was exhumed and put on trial by his successor and a group of clergy. The deceased pontiff was posthumously accused of various crimes, symbolically tried, and found guilty. His papal status was then officially revoked. Historians often cite this event as an example of the intense political and religious conflicts of that era, especially during a time when papal appointments were influenced by shifting alliances and power struggles. Could the Vatican also be the keeper of the most powerful relic in biblical history? The Ark of the Covenant is considered one of the most important religious artifacts in biblical tradition. Some believe that the Vatican may possess it, although there is no confirmed evidence to support this claim. According to the Bible, the Ark was seen as the dwelling place of God and was carried and protected by the ancient Israelites at all costs. It was believed that touching it without proper purification could be fatal. The Ark's legendary power has also been depicted in popular culture, such as in the film Indiana Jones. Because of its significance, some speculate that if the Ark still exists, a religious institution like the Vatican might be responsible for safeguarding it. And while some relics are hidden, others are validated through the heavens themselves. Not all events considered miraculous take place at the Vatican. In 1917, in Fatima, Portugal, a group of people gathered following reports of a prophecy that extraordinary events would occur on a specific day, events that many believed could only be explained as miracles. According to numerous witness accounts, the sun appeared to move or dance in the sky in a way that defied natural explanation. A bishop from the Vatican later conducted an investigation and concluded that the reported phenomena were consistent with Catholic beliefs and prophecies. But miracles aren't the only marvels preserved by the Vatican. Some are carved in stone and bronze. The Augustus of Prima Porta is a renowned statue unearthed in 1863, believed to depict Caesar Augustus. It is often noted for blending Greek and Roman artistic styles. The face resembles Augustus, while the body reflects classical Greek ideals, often seen in depictions of heroes and mythological figures. Today, the statue is housed in one of the Vatican's museums, highlighting the institution's dedication to preserving and showcasing both classical art and Roman history. And as we move from emperors to warriors, our next artifact tells a tale of ancient power and craftsmanship. Let's continue with art by looking at the Mars of Todi, a near life-size bronze statue of a warrior dating back to the 5th or early 4th century BCE. Rediscovered in 1835, it is believed to have been part of a religious sanctuary dedicated to a war deity, possibly linked to the ancient Umbrian people. The statue is notable for its intricate detail and remarkable preservation, which reflects the craftsmanship of the time. Like the Augustus of Prima Porta, the Mars of Todi is now displayed in the Vatican museums, showcasing the Vatican's dedication to preserving historical art. But perhaps the most disturbing revelations aren't buried in history, they were leaked in our lifetime. The VatiLeaks incident is considered one of the most impactful scandals in the recent history of the Vatican. It involved the unauthorized release of internal documents during a period of internal tensions within the Church. The leaked materials revealed disagreements over transparency and governance. While some within the Vatican were advocating for reforms and alignment with modern standards, others favored maintaining confidentiality. Among the documents were reports alleging that access to private audiences with the Pope sometimes involved financial contributions, which raised significant ethical concerns. Although the Vatican took steps to address the situation, the incident sparked global discussion and had a lasting effect on public perception. Which of these secrets do you believe the Vatican hides, and which one gave you chills? Drop your theory in the comments, just don't blame us if it keeps you up tonight. If you found today's video interesting, don't hesitate to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Your support is very important to us. Be sure to check out the next video appearing on your screen. You're sure to love the content we bring. Please leave a comment about which country you'd like us to explore next.
Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.
In Russia, civilians are allowed to drive tanks, have cats guarding world-famous art, and once classified beer as food. Add in lace underwear bans, vodka as wages, and ice baths in sub-zero temperatures, and one man fathered 87 children. Ready to be surprised? Let's dive into the strange and unique